So agency versus in-house. When I was preparing to graduate with my master's in public relations, the big question we were all asking one another in classes, and we were fielding from our professors, was, what agency are you joining? And I think 99% of my fellow comrades were going to an agency. And I remember the looks of surprise when I said I was decidedly not going the agency route, but instead had accepted a job with a growing startup. And of course I was asked why. Why would I do that? Well, for one, it sounded a lot more fun to my brain and my person at the time. And at this point in time, I've spent time in corporate, including startups and Fortune 500s. I've also done agency side, and I've hired and fired agencies and employees. And I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with VIPs with big teams. I've worked with solopreneurs with 0 teams. So today I want to cover 2 questions that you might be asking yourself. The first question is, I'm a practitioner, or soon to be practitioner, because I'll be graduating soon. Should I join an agency or go into corporate or startup or nonprofit? Basically in-house. And the second question is, should I build out an internal PR team or hire an agency for my PR needs? Now, we've answered these questions in a couple different ways, but we're going to be doubling down here. So jumping in, here's what you'll get if you go agency side. You will get different accounts. You will get to apply your specific skills and the ones that the agency will likely prefer to train you on to a number of clients and possibly many different products and services and industries. And depending on what kind of agency that you step into, you will likely start with research and more menial tasks as you're learning the agency approach. If you're on client calls, you'll probably not be leading the calls just yet. You will get to see a number of jobs from outreach to campaign creation to crisis response, but you may feel siloed if your job is this and you may not get the exposure to the full suite of client services. So my advice is to keep educating yourself, stay aware of what others are doing, ask them questions, interview them, learn the ins and outs of all the PR aspects, not just the 1 or 2 that you're assigned, and then make sure that of all the things that work across industries and products and services, that is the one of the unique and most compelling factors when working for an agency versus in-house is you get that exposure. Okay, so corporate or in-house, whether it be for a corporate entity or a nonprofit or a startup, here's what you'll get. You'll get to go deep with one brand, and you'll cover a lot of disciplines for that brand. You'll likely be part of a small team. That's usually always the case. And a budget would also probably be pretty small. The understanding of PR side your team, or even just you, it will be limited. So you'll be charged with educating other teams, and they will be scrutinizing your efforts, especially if there is budget constraints. So no fear. I like this part of showing results and how PR impacts all the drivers inside the business, and most importantly, sentiment and consumer awareness. Now, the skill developed alone, that's been a game changer in my career and why I do what I do today. Another thing, PR may be part of marketing, but I think I've said this before, that's okay. So long as it can work semi-autonomously. The discipline of PR is about sentiment and reputation before it is about revenue and lead capture. But good PR does drive revenue and lead capture. So ideally, you know how to do both within PR. Now, the great thing is every founder, every president, every executive that I've ever met, PR is an open tab in their brain. If you can provide that peace of mind, if you can come in and produce results, you are a standout. You are a rock star to them. So this is the same if you are on the agency side. And hopefully your internal partner advocates for time with their executives if you're on agency side. Now, if you're watching this and you have a company and you're wondering if you should hire an internal team or hire an agency, here's what I'll say. Most companies aren't ready to hire an internal team or hire an agency. It's usually more expensive than they think. And many have been burned by an agency. And most of those instances were as a result of a misalignment of expectations. So consider if you hire one person to cover all aspects of PR, know that they will likely need support of an agency, of a program or blueprint, of virtual assistants. Ask them if they have a blueprint and what the day-to-day of that looks like, what kind of production will that blueprint generate? Ask them what metrics matter. And you can review any of my previous videos and ask them questions in order to glean how much they know about the field of play, not just the theory or one aspect of a successful PR strategy. So if you hire someone to do PR for your brand, your business, they have to know all aspects of a successful PR strategy in all disciplines of PR. And they can produce results, and then they can level up on what is feasible. And they can also level set with what is feasible within the budget and bandwidth provided. Now, if you decide to hire an agency, start with a well-drafted RFP. This usually results in a well-drafted statement of work. RFP stands for Request for Proposal, and it's a good first step and a filter to ensure that agencies that are auditioning follow through, that they follow up, that they show their work, that they show that they want to court you and be courted by you. The second recommendation is to ask for referrals. 3 is pretty standard, but I usually ask for 5, and I call those referrals, every single one of them. And if one doesn't respond, I ask the agency to send me more referrals. Referrals are key. And when I talk to them, I ask them specific questions that match my needs, and I look for repetition around those needs. Or specifically about those needs, so that I know that I'm getting the match that I need. And then the biggest thing when trying to find an agency that matches your needs is knowing who will be your day-to-day person, your account person. How long have they been with the company? How many years experience do they have overall? What resources will the agency provide within the retainer? Any agency can impress with leadership during the courting process and then relegate you in your account to the lowest level employee after. But you want to understand if that will be the case or in what respect that may be the case. Also, I'd like to ask if the retainer is fair. And this isn't to back anyone into a corner or to catch them, but the response to this question can be telling, specifically if they seem to think it's low for what you're asking, and then certainly for what you need and expect. And you want to be crystal clear on expectations before you start, certainly before you sign on a dotted line. And this is one way to get there. Finally, consider that the onboarding process for both, if you hire someone in-house and you hire an agency, it can be 2 to 3 months in the making. So don't have the expectation that you will hire anyone and within that same month see reports of significance. Also, do you have the time to manage a PR agency? It takes a lot more bandwidth than most realize, and it's the difference between a successful partnership or a struggling one, even with a top 5 agency. You may think that an agency will plug right in, and many do this very well, but there's still time that is needed to support them with information, insights, storytelling ideas, history, offers, for them to understand your industry, your brand, your products, your VIPs, your impact projects or nonprofits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a little bit about agency versus in-house. And if you want to follow my example, do what makes your heart happy and know that it may change, as in you may change your mind. I could not have predicted what my career would entail when I was starting out, but I'm happy that I chose to go in-house first. And it was purely a gut feeling. It was also the start of developing a blueprint out of necessity that I now share with my teams and my clients. And then I tested that blueprint against every opportunity, every new role, every new and unprecedented situation that I encountered over the last 2 decades. And I could not have predicted that it would work time and time again, but it did. And that was what kept me engaged and excited about the work. And I'd say that is the biggest challenge, staying engaged and excited and avoiding complacency in whatever you choose, whether it's agency or in-house. Find what makes you happy, be prepared to do the work, but consistently consider what you need to be excited and engaged, because that's what you, as well as every brand, business, or in-house or agency, that's what they will hire you, and that's what they deserve.